Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge, where the unstoppable rally in semis is doing the best today and which are following the sewer to the downside. We got one of those to lead it off. And there were puts trading ahead of it on today's Rebel's Edge. Yeah, this damn Zscaler. Thank God I don't have long position in this one, Pete, because it might be a.
It's definitely not. It's not good. Although in today's Rebel's Edge, we've got another stock in there that ain't doing too good either. So we got a couple of good ones, a couple of crummy ones. But you know what? That's the way it goes.
Yep. Well. We've got one that was a $200 stock, ain't a $200 stock anymore. And we'll be filling you guys in on all the details as to why that is. But let's kick it off, Pete, with a little memory chip down the memory lane when Pete was, of course, a specialist in Micron. Boy, one of the hot memory chip stocks right now. And high bandwidth memory for GPUs is what everybody wants. So we're seeing U.S. and Asian markets lifted higher on this move alone, Pete.
Yeah, it's been pretty unbelievable, right? I mean, it goes up, it doesn't really fall back. It goes up, doesn't really fall back. I mean, there's not a whole lot of corrections going on here. So, and then you look at different time frames and you see how much this stock has been moving around. And a lot of people were they were trying to do the same thing as they've been doing, John, when they talk about everything about AI. Oh, yeah, that's done. It's a bubble. It's going to blow up, and it is. Well, that hasn't really happened. Micron with memory, that hasn't really happened. So, yeah, the move to the upside has been pretty strong and continues to be so.
Well, last Thursday, Pete, crude oil was up over 103. It is barely holding on to 90. West Texas Intermediate, 90 right now. And that's, of course, because of these ongoing peace talks. We'll have to see how that continues to play out. But my question is, how is the VIX reacting to crude oil sliding and, for the most part, the market heading higher?
Yeah, you know what, John? It's not doing a whole lot today, but it already had pulled back, and here we were in the 16s. And we are right there. Call it high 16s, very low 17s. Today's range is probably something that it probably makes a lot of sense because of the movement that we're getting and the why of that movement. But it's been pretty interesting, and here we are. I mean, there's the shot right there. We are somewhere between that 1680, call it 17, and kind of planted there right now. So what is it telling us? It's telling us exactly what's going on. Well, it's the S&P has been moving around pretty nicely. And you know what? 16 is about a 1% move, right, in the S&P? Well, that's pretty close to what we've been doing lately. We're holding on a little bit, John, to that 7,500 for the S&P. That's something I think a lot of people are kind of watching that as well. So we'll see. If it starts slipping through there or starts getting hit a little bit, we might start to see that volatility get back into the 17s. But either way, 16, 17, unless it starts to fly, I think the general direction is going to be a little bit lower.
Well, tell me about this one, Pete. My polymarket pick today was Trump announces U.S. blockade of Hormuz lifted by ... Okay, so what is the betting market saying about that? Well, it was, Pete, 84% chance that he'd lift it by the 31st of May. That dropped by 50% overnight. It's now 34%, Pete. And that's the heaviest, basically 5 million went flushing into this thing, just saying, nope, it ain't happening by the 31st. It ain't happening. And they just pounded it. So that gives you an idea, though, of how you could make money in those prediction markets, folks, because, again, if you're somebody that believed that 84% chance or whatever yesterday was a good bet. You could have gone against it. You could only lose 16 cents for every dollar you bet. But if you bought it at 84, Pete, whoo, it's not a good day for you today.
Not a good day at all. You know what? Looking at things, John, without even paying attention to where it was yesterday, I would just say this. The June 7th seems to me, if I was looking and I wanted to get in here, that one seems the most probable that that's a possibility of happening. Otherwise, yes, it could happen May 28th. Yes, it could happen May 31st. But that just seems like that is a little bit closer than I think that this kind of negotiation is going to go through. And obviously the president would like to have it done yesterday, but he continues to be very, very adamant about pushing for certain things. And you know what? I think that the prediction markets are starting to feel that out, and he wants to get this thing done, but he wants to get it done right. So it might take a little bit longer. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we've got one, Pete, that you and I are advisors. We're basically paid advisors to a small cap stock on our small cap spotlight today that we've covered several times in the last few weeks because A, they rang the bell at the NASDAQ, and B, here they are, Z squared, ZSQR, and they're expanding into AI infrastructure, Pete, because it takes so long, folks, to get permitted, to get power, not just to get CPUs and compute, but these guys already had that all lined up because they were a miner. And just like a lot of other miners, like Hut, for instance, Hut 8, these guys are catching a lot of wind at their back, I'll say, Pete. Mm-hmm. And the Russell 3000 index decided to add them to the Russell indexes when they reconstitute it. Now, they're going to do that after the market closes Friday, May 22nd. Basically, they published this. And the actual, Pete, inclusion is Friday, June 26th. Oh. And for those who don't follow it as close as Pete and I, folks, the actual inclusion means that the folks that are rebalancing their portfolios in the Russell will add this as of the market close on Friday, June 26th. So it's good news today, but it could certainly lift this stock through June, Pete. And you would anticipate the biggest lift might come right at the end there, where people are basically scrambling to get in if they have a portfolio that's part of the Russells. Mm-hmm. So Russell is one of the biggest brand names in small caps, and ZSQR stands to benefit from that inclusion, right, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that everything we hear, it sounds like there's a lot of excitement about that whole thing. So yeah, I think that for all the right reasons, should they be there? Yeah. And I think it's great, and it's not that far away.
Yeah. Data centers in particular, like I say, conversions of miners into data centers, a big deal, always makes headlines. And this one caused the stock to pop about 7% today. Nice. ZSQR is the symbol. All right, Pete. How about another stock that begins with Z, but thank God we're not in this one, and it's Zscaler.
Yeah.
Because Zscaler collapsed over 30% today. Investors just hitting the exits with both elbows, Pete, just like, get me out. So cloud security, you might think that that's something that a lot of people would need, and indeed they do. But in this case, when you've got firms reducing their price targets by 20 and 30%, that ain't good, Pete. And the CapEx is dragging down their free cash flow margins a lot. Mm-hmm. So Needham, Wedbush, even Jim Cramer are talking about this one, Pete. And it's looked pretty ugly all day.
Yeah, looks terrible. And also, John, you mentioned a couple of the big reasons why, and it made a lot of sense. The price targets like Wedbush and those guys who are bringing those down, but they also lost a couple of big sales leaders. And you know what? They consider those very key people. So the fact that they've lost at least two, they're not too happy about that. At least the folks that are selling obviously are not too happy about that, because they're turning and saying, you know what? I don't even want to touch this thing. And it's interesting because they had a strong Q3. The revenue was up 25% year over year. So from that perspective, that was pretty solid. But there are other things that that have got people a little bit with their underwear in a bundle, and they're just saying, you know what, I don't care, I want out, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And they want out in a bad way, because this is a pretty substantial move. You saw that on the screen just a little bit ago, what it looks like. I'll tell you what, down 30+%, 31%, not so good, John. And that's at least about where they're trying to fight off of, being on that move to the downside. But the problem is, I don't know. I think there's too much weighing on it right now, and this is not one where I'd say, you know what, it's time. I don't think that's true in this case.
Well, I had an unusual activity from a year ago, Pete. So this is not an active one, folks. This isn't like, oh, Pete and John rung the register on this one because the stock dropped this far. This stock has a nasty habit, apparently, Pete, of falling really big as we head into this quarter.
Wow.
And that's just an example from, like I say, 2025, from May 19th, as you guys can see there. And they were buying June 200 puts with the stock at 251. And so when these guys get the feeling that something's not so good in Zscaler, I'd say you might not want to be long this stock in this May-June timeframe. Is it written in stone that that's the case? No, but this is the second year in a row when we've seen a really big drop, Pete. It had just clawed its way all the way back into the 190s, and then all the way back down. Pretty damn ugly.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's look at one maybe that's not quite as ugly, Pete. Dicom Industries, because this one, this quarter checked every box for growth, operational strength. These guys did it all, Pete. DY is the symbol here, folks. And basically, first quarter posting double-digit growth across virtually every key metric. So they also raised full-year guidance for 2027. So not so bad, Pete. Pretty much the opposite of what we heard out of Zscaler.
The exact opposite. Yes, John, you're right. You know, engineering, specialty contracting, that's what these guys do. And it's record-breaking, by the way, in that Q1 that you were just talking about. That's impressive. They raised the guidance. You know, that's always a good thing, because you know what? Once we get the earnings, we always talk about this. You go and look, what's the guidance looks like? Well, the guidance looks pretty damn good. So the combination of both of those moving to the upside, you can see this. This is a $100 move. I mean, this is a pretty substantial. You're going from what? Call it 4 1/4 up to, let's call it 5 1/4. That's a pretty daggone nice run, right? So yeah, they're doing just about everything right, John. Almost exactly the flip side of what we were just talking about with Zscaler, unfortunately for them. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Dicom. It's just the polar opposite in a good way. So impressive, yes. And these guys are absolutely crushing it, and they plan on crushing it into the future as well.
Well, at the 1 year ago, Pete, the stock was $229. Now it's $533 a share. Yesterday, we were talking about Micron, how it made a move like that in just 2 months.
Yeah.
But this one, very strong move. Revenue guidance, like you said, Pete, that was pretty astonishing, because basically they threw another $1 billion onto what their guidance would be going forward. So that's a pretty good report, I'd say.
Yep.
Now let's talk about Vroom, VRRM. And this one's another one of those, Pete, where, boy, am I glad we weren't in this one. Vera Mobility, it was down as much as 68% today. This mobility technology company slashed full-year earnings outlook. You know why? Because one of their biggest clients, Avis, basically said, you know what? We're going to find another way to do what you guys do. We don't need you anymore. And turns out they account for a pretty significant amount of their revenue, Pete. So I am chuckling, but this is one of those deals where when you get all your eggs in pretty close to one basket, you can see why that's not such a good deal. Right now, shares are down 68% on heavy turnover of 44 million shares, Pete. It's an ugly day to be long Vera Mobility.
And that terminated contract that you were just talking about, John, with Avis Budget, that's a key element for them. It's over 10% of the total revenue, and they basically just said, look, we're going to walk. We don't want to do this anymore. It's not working for us, and that makes it pretty tough. And last I looked, John, this thing was down 71% or something close to that. I think 68%, 71%. By the time you get down there, I guess it's not all that much difference, but there's a little bit of a difference. But I will say this. When I was looking at the numbers that they have as a company, John, they got debt of $1.1 billion with total cash of $55 million. So I look at that, I get a little bit nervous. And this is one of those that even with that contract, I don't know that was one of the kind of companies that I wanted to be with. Obviously, that was a big player for them, and it's not good. And it's going to be very, very difficult, I would think, in the future for these guys. Unless they can get something done with somebody else, they've got a little bit of an issue, I think, right now.
Well, let's switch gears once again, Pete, and go to a big winner. Digital Turbine, which is the symbol is APPS, APPS. And what do these guys do? Well, they operate basically device solutions and app growth platform. So their numbers, Pete, apparently pretty impressive. Up 55% today on 32 million shares changing hands. I'd say people liked this one. And if you look back and see where they've come from, Pete, it's a volatile little stock. I mean, August of a year ago, the stock was down around $3 and it shot all the way up to almost where it is today, to about $7.50. And then bled all the way back down. I mean, you want volatility? Digital Turbine is your stock if you like volatility.
Yeah, and sometimes you like it, but sometimes you don't. I mean, depending on if you're on the right side of that whole thing. The revenue, John, was up 20% year over year, so that was great. Their margins are very strong, and they were talking about that. They also talked about the beats that they had, the guidance that they put out there, the expectations for the revenue, the EBITDA, all of that. They really did a great job. I mean, it makes sense why they're doing as well as they are as far as the stock movement that they're getting, which is 50+% or better. They really did hit everything that they needed. I took a look at the earnings, John. They were expecting 8 cents. They delivered with 16 cents. Revenue, like I mentioned, up 20% year over year. So they are doing everything right. And it's pretty much the contra to what we were just seeing with that Vera Mobility. But you know what? Not trying to make fun of those guys because you know what? You never know. But it just is not working for them right now. And boy, between that debt and then you look over and you look at what's going on with Digital Turbine, these guys seem to have everything in order right now. So I think they deserve to be crushing it the way they are.
Let's let you take over the sports segment, Pete.
Well, we were talking about the NBA yesterday, John, because hell, we're at the Final Four essentially, and it's great to. I was watching the game last night. It was a lot of fun. OKC for the most part had control almost the entire way through it, John. As a matter of fact, they dropped 40 onto San Antonio in the second quarter alone. So OKC was really bringing it to them. Wemby was having a difficult time. Here's what his numbers looked like yesterday, John. He was 4 of 15 with field goal shots. Not so good, right? 0 for 5 with 3-pointers. That ain't so good either. Here's the other problem. So De'Aaron Fox gets in there and he puts up kind of the same numbers. So they just did not have, and you know what? OKC's been there as well, where they just can't be able, they don't see the rim right, and they're not able to get any points. And we've seen that happen to them as well. So it's interesting, but OKC at home, this was a blowout. They beat them in every single way. I think when you look at what Wemby's been doing, John, is he getting kind of tired? When you're a 7'4" guy and you're making it up and down the court like that, and you're playing these playoff games very aggressive, you know who really played well yesterday were the guys that people don't really talk as much about. You got Chet Holmgren, John, and Hartenstein. Those two guys, the bigs on the OKC side of things, combined for 12 of 17 on field goals. So while Wemby was having a really tough night, these other 7-footers were having a pretty damn good night, actually. And the two big men really started moving them up and down, and it was a very physical game. It reminded me a little bit of some of the games back in the days of, the Bulls and the Pistons and all that kind of thing, where they let them play a little bit with a little bit more physical. And I don't think that works very well for San Antonio. It certainly works pretty well, I think, for OKC. And that's why they absolutely drubbed them yesterday. I think they beat them by like 15, 17 points, something close to that. But they were doing everything right, John. They were 44% on the three-pointers, 48% on the field goals. And for whatever reason, and I don't know what it was, if it's fatigue or what, but San Antonio really struggled. So we got another one tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. But right now, that could be the end of it if San Antonio can't step up.
Yeah, well, who's been having a hard time stepping up, Pete, is SGA.
Yeah.
SGA, I thought you guys would like this stat, was 1 of 5 in the first quarter. 1 of 5. You can't shoot 20%, folks, and win very many games when you're the star that's supposed to be filling up the hoop. Luckily, like Pete said, the two big men did that. And the two big men, putting up field goals, not just standing under the rim and jamming it, but putting up field goals, that's a big deal. But I love this quote, Pete, from SGA. He said, if it was 5 me's out there, we would have been down 20. And he's right. That's pretty honest, because you can't shoot 20% and stay in the game. But luckily, the other guys had his back, Pete, and the other two big men really made it hard on Wemby, because if you let that kid score, like you and I said yesterday, if he scores 20, you're okay. If he scores 30, you're dead. You're dead. And luckily, they didn't let him do that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. How about a little NHL? I know we don't hit it very often, John, but these guys, this is what really interesting to me. So the Golden Knights. Now, half the world doesn't even know who the hell the Golden Knights are, right? I mean, let's be honest. But they're a Las Vegas team, and they should know who they are. These guys are only in their 9th season total, John, and it's their 3rd Cup Finals that they're going to be in. Now, I sit here in Minnesota, this is the hockey world right up here. I don't even remember the last time we were there. I'm not even sure if we've been there in forever, it feels like. I know that we have never won a Stanley Cup, which is really sad, but it's amazing how the Golden Knights, they put this thing together. They're doing unbelievably well. And when I say unbelievably well, John, how about this? Colorado, pretty much the entire year, the best team in all of the NHL, right? I mean, these guys dominated. The Avalanche were unbelievable. Well, they just got swept 4-0. So they not so good for them. And now the Golden Knights get a chance to rest for a little while, because you've still got the Hurricanes out there playing as well, John. So the Hurricanes and the Canadians are going to go at it. Right now, the Hurricanes are up 2-1. They still got to get to 4, so they got a couple games left at least. And it's going to be pretty interesting, because now the Golden Knights get a little chance to rest. And if that works well for them, and hopefully it does, sometimes, you kind of lose that momentum that you've got. And they've obviously got some pretty good momentum with this sweep that they just got done with. But what do you think about something like that? Do you think it's better or worse to be – because if you actually do get a little extra time, maybe you get healed up, some of the injuries that you got. It's a long season for hockey, the long playoffs that they play. But you also lose a little bit of that momentum. What do you think?
Well, the sweep will give them a lot of confidence, obviously, especially like you say, this is a team that's won 3 Western Division Conference championships now. So like you said, they just finished this one, 5 Pacific Division titles, and they won the whole thing back in 23, Pete, which is, again, kind of sad for you and me, being guys that at least part of our lives grew up in Minnesota with the North Stars that are now the Dallas Stars. And now we've got the Wild. So hopefully the Wild won't enjoy the same curse that the North Stars did. But yeah, Vegas, man, that is a franchise that's well put together, Pete. From the beginning of that franchise, they started, winning games against teams people didn't think they should be beating. And now I don't think anybody really wants to play them. But the team that, like you said, the Hurricane, that's going to be an interesting, if it's the Hurricanes, we don't know for sure. Like you said, it's only 2-1. But if it's the Hurricanes against the Knights, I think the betting lines out there in Vegas will be interesting, Pete.
Just let's make sure the players themselves don't bet on it, John. We got a lot of going on. This quarterback, and I almost said poor quarterback. He's not a poor quarterback. This quarterback that's trying to get back into college football or whatever, who knows how that whole thing's going to play out. But don't go out there betting when you're in college, man. I mean, what the hell are you doing? And if you're in the pros, don't go out there betting. You shouldn't be out there betting. Leave that to everybody else. You're there to play. I mean, it's too much of that going on, and I feel bad for these guys. I really feel bad for this quarterback, but you know what? He probably knew the risks and decided it was okay to take that risk. And I think he's finding out that it's not so great because you know what? He signed a pretty damn good contract to go down there, contract with NIL or whatever. And it's not like, it looks like it's not going to happen. I think he's going to have to try again some way, some sort of thing in court or whatever. But unbelievable that he did it in the first place.
Yeah. Well, we always appreciate you guys tuning in. We've got one more Rebels Edge this week. It'll be coming your way tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you mark it on your calendar. Join us tomorrow on all the socials, the YouTube and so forth. And hopefully we'll have an interesting video or two, Pete, for us to lead us into sports tomorrow. See you then.